Hi friends, today we are going to discuss another design pattern called Saga Distributed Transaction Pattern. This is a very elaborate pattern, so bear with me. Now, what is Saga Distributed Transaction Pattern? As you know from the transaction word, that Saga Distributed Transaction helps in orchestrating distributed transactions in a microservice architecture or in any architecture. And what Saga does is it is basically a series of transactions that happen one after another. And if any of one of them fails, then Saga keeps a list of or configuration of compensable transactions which can be done in reverse order. So, for example, if this fails, what it is going to do is it is going to start compensating transaction which is going to reverse the business logic. It may or may not reverse the exact data state, but it can reverse the business logic to bring it to an initial state, or to reverse the transactions which were done in the forward phase. Now, what is a transaction? What is this word transaction mean? It means single unit of work or single unit of logic, and which can be done in multiple operations. Now, what does this mean is transaction follow atomic acid properties. What this mean is they are atomic. I'm going to explain each of them. Consistent, isolated, and durable. Now, what does atomic means? If you have a transaction which consists of one or more work that needs to be done. Now, atomic means that either all of this work is going to get done or none of this work is going to get done. So it is either all or nothing. So that is atomicity, that either everything is done or either nothing is done. What does consistent mean? Consistent means that the system moves from one valid state to another. So since there are multiple things that are happening in a transaction, so each of them can be considered a state. And since we are saying that system is in a valid state before a transaction and system is in a valid state after a transaction, it may be an inconsistent state within the transaction. But since we are ensuring that our transactions are atomic, that is either everything is happening or nothing is happening. So system always state in one consistent state or another consistent state, moves from one consistent state to another consistent state. Now, another property of transaction is, if for example you are doing T1 and then T2, transaction 1 and then transaction 2, then your system is going to go from state 1 to state 2, as we have seen, right? This state 1 to state 2. Now, if these transactions are concurrent, that is they are happening at the same time, then these pieces of work that are being done can be done in either sequentially or parallelly, and if they are concurrent, then they can be done parallelly. But the transaction has to ensure that these work is always consistent. That means the effect they have had when they were sequential is similar to when they are consistent. T1 and T2 are executed sequentially. Either our state goes from S1 to S2, or it can go from S2 to S1, but they are consistent. They remain consistent. That means that our state will go from S1 to S2. Now, last point, durable. Durable means that even if our system crashes, once a transaction has been committed means that the transaction has taken effect, then even if our system crashes, that transaction is going to persist. And when our system comes up, then the state in which our system was earlier, after the transaction was committed, will remain the same. So that means it is a durable transaction. Now, why are we learning about the transactions? We're going to understand this. Let's say you have a system which has multiple microservices. And in multiple microservices, what happens is each service is responsible for its own data store. That data store can be any data store that services likes or is suitable for their use case. And they can be relational databases, they can be NoSQL bases. So if we have to do some piece of work across these services, then for a single database, relational database, you can they provide transactions out of the box. That means that they provide transaction support. But if you want to do some piece of work, like this is work 1, this is work 2, this is work 3, and this is work 4, and you want to do a transaction which consists of these pieces of work, let's suppose in this order, then what are you going to do? And you want to ensure that it is transactional. That means that even if our any of our service goes down, our system state is maintained. It ensures that system is always consistent. It ensures that either all of the work W1 to W4 is done or nothing is done and isolated. So we need to ensure in some way that our work is ACID. Atomic, consistent, isolated, and durable. So how are we going to do it? In distributed systems, in distributed microservice architecture, this poses a challenge. There are some ways we can do it. One way to do is via two-phase commit. We are not going to go in depth of two-phase commit because it's a topic in itself, but it is a way of doing distributed transactions in databases which support two-phase commit. So if you have databases which support two-phase commit, so you can have multiple databases and you can commit some data in it, and that data is going to provide ACID-like functionalities that we have discussed. But since in microservice architecture, any service can have any type of database, and we want business logic level ACID properties. We're not, we may be concerned about the data level properties, but that database is abstracted by the service that is exposing that data, right? So we have to ensure that in microservice architecture, we need some distributed transaction support. So in these types of scenarios, we can harness the power of Saga distributed transaction system. So what happens in Saga distributed transactions is you have Saga participants. Saga is basically a story or a long story. You have some participants in a Saga, and each is going to do its work and publish an event that it has done its particular work, and then W2 is going to pick that event or do a particular action on that event, and similarly W3 is going to pick an event from W2 or pick a command from W2. Now this is all well and good, but what happens when one of the services is not able to do its work? What is going to happen is Saga ensures that the system is designed and written in such a way that there are compensable transactions, so that system can move from one consistent state to another consistent state, right? So it will have a series of compensating transactions. We are going to write them as W3 dash, W2 dash, and W1 dash. We have to remember that they are not exact opposites of the work that was being done in W1. They are just the compensating transaction. They can be at the business level logic also. So for example, if you book a ticket, what is its compensating transaction? Its compensating transaction can be cancel the ticket. Its compensating transaction is not that we are going to delete all the entries or all the data that we had created for booking that ticket. that would be data level. Uh, uh, that is the data level compensation, that in booking the ticket we were writing a particular data in our data store. So in cancel the ticket or in compensating transaction, we are not going to delete that data, but we are going to do a business logic level compensation for that transaction, that is cancel the ticket. Similarly, these are the compensating transactions for the respective pieces of work, and they can be different from the different for different pieces of work, but the main point is to take it from one consistent state to another consistent state. So for example, in this you were doing these pieces of work which was taking state from S1 to S2, W1, W2, W3, and since we have to ensure that it is ACID, either all work is done or no work is done. So if any of them fails, then we need to have a compensating system which takes from any of the inconsistent state which our system was in to its consistent state S1, right? That is the requirement for a Saga pattern. And even if that is atomicity, if either all work is done or no work is done, consistency, that means that our system moves from one consistent state to another consistent state, and if any of them fails, then it remains in some consistent state. Isolation, if these pieces of work is done in concurrent fashion. So for example, if there are many requests which are flowing through our Saga system, then they should keep our system state consistent, durable. Even if any of them crashes, our system should persist the state which was done in the transaction, which was committed by a particular transaction. So if our system moves from state S1 to state S2 and then our system crashes, then our system is going to keep its state S2. It is not going to lose that state. That we have to ensure. Each of this service can keep its data stored and can do local transaction on the pieces of work that is being done. But at a broader level, it is the Saga distributed transaction, or it's a way of doing a transaction in a multi-service architecture where through service orchestration, we are ensuring that ACID properties are ensured in our transaction or in a sequence of work that we are doing. Now, since we have multiple types of work that we have to do, there are three types of work that can happen in a distributed transaction. First is compensable transaction. Now, what a compensable transaction? That is, they can be reverted. There can be a compensable transaction or compensable piece of work that can be done to reverse the effect that was created by compensable transaction. Second is retriable transaction. That means this work can be retried so that it is idempotent. That means that it is idempotent. We can keep retrying it and our system is going to be in a consistent state. And third is pivot transaction. Now, pivot transaction may or may not be, pivot transaction will be neither compensable transaction nor retriable transaction. So it is the last point of compensable transaction and starting point of retriable transaction. For example, let's say you have some pieces of work that are being done. This one is compensable, this one is compensable, this one and this one is, let's say, pivot transaction. That means that if this transaction completes, it is going to go to completion. Why it is go to completion? Because all the transactions after the pivot transactions are retriable transactions. It can also be a retriable transaction, but we have to ensure that if this transaction completes, our system will go to completion. If this transaction fails, we have a system which can do compensating transactions for transactions before it. We have, these are compensable transactions, they can be reverted, and these are retriable transactions. So once a pivot transaction commits or is done, then the pieces of work that are left are retriable, and we can ensure that our system goes to completion. So in all, our pivot transaction will be last compensable transaction, right? It can be a last compensable transaction, or it can be a first retriable transaction. So these are retriable transactions and these are compensating transactions. So it can be a last compensating transaction or first retriable transaction. Now there are different ways in which we can implement Saga distributed transaction pattern. One way to do that is using choreography pattern. Now what choreography pattern we have understood is, in choreography pattern, there are multiple services that wants to do a particular piece of work. So this is S1, S2 and S3. They are all interacting with a single message bus or event bus. There can be multiple message bus also. There can be multiple message bus also. So they are basically doing their piece of work, providing it in a single or multiple message bus, or they are basically commands. This service 1 is doing its work, and this is a client. Client is sending some piece of work C that it wants to do. Service 1 is going to take the message C, then it is going to provide the command C1. Service 2 is going to take the command C1, then it is going to provide the command C2. That means it has done its work and it has published the event C2. Now service 3 is going to take the command C2 and going to provide message C3. This is orchestration pattern. This is orchestration pattern. There is no single point which is orchestrating. These services are interacting among themselves using a single or multiple buses, multiple message queues, and they are doing their piece of work. And this can be implemented as a Saga pattern, in which the work done by these three can be ensured that we are following the Saga strategy, that some are compensable transactions, some are pivot transactions, and some are retriable pieces of work. And they all together, they orchestrate, or not orchestrate, they choreograph your service in such a way that it follows the ACID pattern, that is atomic, consistent, isolated and durable, and your system moves from one consistent state to another consistent. Now what can be the drawbacks of implementing Saga distributed transaction pattern via orchestrated design, via choreography design, in which these services are dancing among themselves? So how is your flow going to be like? Let's see. It's going to be like this. This is going to go to this, then it is going to provide the result, then it is going to go to this, then it is going to provide the result, then it is going to go to this, then it is going to provide the result. Right. So it is basically a dance among services. And what can be its drawback when you implemented Saga using choreography pattern? Let's see, first of all, the advantages. There is no single point of failure. You can have multiple instances of S1, or even service wise, there are no multiple points of failure, single point of failure. Now, this pattern is helpful when you have a small service. When your service becomes large, then implementing choreography pattern can be a challenge. So it is good for simple workflows. Since we don't need any another service, so it requires less number of services. There is no service that is orchestrating, as we're going to see next. But it has its challenges. What are its challenges? Are you seeing this? It is going to increase the complexity in which your system is doing work, and whether you are going to test it, it is going to increase your testing efforts because all of these services have to be up to do a particular piece of work. Then each service is dependent on another service. So it is going to be hard coupling between these services. And if you want to add another service, then you have to, it is basically difficult to remember which service is doing what, right? And if this pattern is not implemented properly, choreography pattern or Saga using choreography pattern, then you can implement cyclic dependency in your system. For example, uh, it can happen like C1 is doing some work, S1 is doing some work, then C1 is doing some work, and then on it, so it is going to do a cyclic dependency. What is going to happen is it is going to be like this. S1 is doing some work, then S2 is doing some work, then S1 is doing some work, then S2 is doing some work on the command that previous one provided. So it can induce cyclic dependency. So let's see another pattern which we can use to implement Saga distributed transaction. That pattern is orchestration pattern. Now, what does orchestration pattern do is instead of having each service requiring to understand the command that was sent by other services, you can have a single orchestrator service. Like in orchestra, there is a music director which is commanding all the musicians to perform a particular piece of music. Similarly, all the requests, client requests, come to this orchestration service. Now it is this orchestration service's responsibility. This is orchestration service, and you have multiple other services S1, S2, and S3. You have multiple services on which our orchestration service is dependent for its piece of work. It is going to give commands or events to these orchestration services, and they are going to do its work. And if there is any point of failure, then our orchestration service is going to implement either the compensating transaction, either compensate for that piece of work, or if that piece of work is retriable, then it is responsible for retrying that piece of work. So orchestrating service is orchestrating the complete transaction workflow. There are advantages to this pattern. It is useful in complex pattern because single service is doing the orchestration of complete workflow. So you have all the logic in a single place which can be interpreted in a better way, whereas in choreography pattern the logic was distributed across multiple services, and there is going to be difficulty in understanding complex and difficult workflows. So in complex workflows you can take orchestration pattern for implementing Saga pattern, and it is going to do all the work. Orchestrator service is going to do all the work. Orchestration service is going to ensure that there is no cyclic dependency among the services. It also ensures that service 1 is not dependent on the commands executed by service 2 and service 3. So these services are independent across one another, whereas in choreography pattern, each service was dependent on the commands of its predecessor, whereas in orchestration pattern, orchestrator is doing all the work of commanding which service to do what. So there is clear separation of concerns. That means each service is clearly separated from the context of another service. It also ensures that a single service, in this case orchestration service, has control over complete workflow and is implementing the compensation and the retrial of the failure transactions. But it has its disadvantage. This single service can become a single point of failure. It has to be treated separately so that it doesn't become a single point of failure. It increases the overhead of implementing another service. So both of the patterns have their pros and cons. Now, since we are discussing about Saga pattern, let's understand what can be the advantages and disadvantages of Saga. Now, first thing we can assess from everything that we have learned up till now is that it is a complex pattern. Implementing it can be a complex, increase complexity in your system. Since there are multiple services involved and each service is doing some piece of work, then it is going to be difficult to debug a particular use case, or if any error is happening, it is going to be difficult to debug particular use case. So what you can do is you can implement open tracing, which basically collects all the traces or all the workflows that are happening across distributed services at a single place. So if you want to search any action that was done for, let's say, an order ID, what you can do is since all the metrics or all the actions that are taken by a particular service for a given order ID can be sent to open tracing, and in an open tracing system you can search by an order ID what all actions were taken by service 1, service 2 and service 3. So it provides your logs or metrics or logs and metrics in a single place so that debugging get easier. And this complexity is only going to increase when you add more and more participants in your Saga transactions or Saga system. One thing that is obvious is each microservice can have its own database, and when we are reverting a transaction or rollbacking a transaction, this data is not going to get reverted. It is going to be present. Only we are going to do compensating transactions so that our states are maintained, but data is going to be present in the corresponding data stores. We have to ensure that we have written our Saga distributed transaction system in such a way that it can handle transient or partial failures or full failure as well. And if we are doing any transaction again, it should be idempotent, that we can do a particular piece of work again and again, and our system is going to be in a same consistent state. That is an idempotent piece of work. So our system should be idempotent. Since there are different or many places of failure, we have to ensure that our system does not induce any anomalies in the system, does not induce any anomalies in the workflow. And because there are multiple systems and each system is going to produce some challenges in the system which can induce anomalies. So we have to ensure that there are no anomalies in the system. Now this is a very confusing thing, but let's see what happens. Now by anomalies I mean these. There can be other anomalies also, but the most frequent one in any transaction or distributed transactions are lost updates. For example, you have done some piece of work and due to some reason work done by some system was lost. What are you going to do in this? This can happen when you have two systems which are doing some piece of work and they are changing a particular state. If W1 and W2 are not considering the work done by each other, then they can override the work done by each other. That can be possible. In that case, work done by one of them is going to get lost since they are not considering the work done by another. So your updates can be lost in your system. They can be dirty reads. For example, since your transaction is happening, let's say this is your transaction and this is a complete transaction. This is the intermediate work that is being done in each transaction. And there are going to be multiple things that are happening. Multiple transactions are going to be happening at the same time. So one thing we have seen is there can be dirty reads where there can be lost updates where work done by one of them is not considering the work done by another. So W1 and W2 are not respecting each other's work and they are overwriting each other's work. That can lead to lost updates. There can be cases in which there's dirty read. W1 is taking system to one place and then W2 is taking system to another place depending on the work done by W1. For two transactions, let's say we have two transactions. One is green transaction and another is red transaction. So work done by red, there is some work done by red and green is reading this work done by red, right? But let's suppose red is not yet committed. The work done by red is yet not committed. So what has happened is green has read the work which is yet not committed. Green has read the work which is yet not committed. So if, for example, let's say that the work done in red is rolled back. So this is dirty read. That is, green has read an inconsistent state in the system. Green has read inconsistent state in the system. And for example, if this red is rolled back, let's suppose red is rolled back, what is going to happen? In this case, if green continues to do its work and commits, then it would have taken some decision based on the work done by red which was rolled back. So this is the case of dirty read, where it has read dirty data or uncommitted data of another transaction. There can be unrepeatable reads. Unrepeatable reads means that, for example, let's consider the same scenario. There is a red transaction which is happening and there is green transaction which is happening. Now we have our database from which each of this transaction, this is transaction T1, this is transaction T2, and T1 has written some data in our database and then green read this data that was written by T1, and then what happens is T1 rolls back. That means T2 rolls back or red rolls back. Right? Red rolls back. So when green is going to reread this piece of data, what is going to happen? First, in the first case, it got read. The data that was, created by red, now it is going to not get that data. Right? First, in the first read, it got red data, but in next case, it didn't get that red data. So these are fuzzy reads. It is going to get confused. First, I got some piece of some sort of data, and then again, it got another piece of data. So these are unrepeatable reads. That is, you will not be able to repeat those reads. Or from one read, R1 and R2, they will show different set of data. Now this is a very big problem. I may not be able to explain it to you in a very good way, but that is the gist of unrepeatable reads. Your reads are not giving same data, even though they are done one after the another in a single transaction. How you can ensure that your system remains consistent even though there can be possibilities of these anomalies that we have discussed? One way is to take logs. So for example, if you're going to do any piece of work, what you can do is you can take a particular log, or you can take a log on some piece of data, and only one, or the entity that is taking the log, will only the entity that is taking the lock will be able to read and write the data, which can ensure that you are not having any anomalies in your database or data state. We have to ensure that our updates are commutative. That means that if work 1 is done, then work 2 is done, it should be equal to work 2 and then work 1. Now, this can be a difficult thing to understand from microservice architecture point of view, because this may or may not be possible, but we have to, but this can be possible that if your system can ensure commutative work, then you can have better consistent states in your system. Another way we can reduce anomalies in our system is if we can reorder our transactions in a Saga such that there can be no cases of dirty reads or unrepeatable reads. That is going to reduce anomalies in our system. How we are going to do that, that is another question. But if we can do that and reorder our transactions, then it can improve the anomalies that are present in the system, or it can reduce the anomalies that can come in your system. Another thing that you can do to reduce anomalies in your system is, for example, whenever you are going to do particular piece of work, then you're reading the data, then you're doing some transaction, and before writing the data, you're again reading that piece of data and then updating that data, right? So you may increase the number of reads that are happening, but your chances of having an unrepeatable read or dirty read or any of the not lost updates, but dirty read or unrepeatable read can be reduced to some extent, though they are not 100% removed, but it can reduce your chances of having dirty and unrepeatable reads, because you are reading again before making your changes. And if your data has changed in between the time since you read it the first time and when you're going to update, then you can roll back your transaction. If your data has changed in between, you can roll back your transaction and it can lead to consistent state rather than having unrepeatable reads or dirty reads. You can keep your system in a consistent state. Another thing that you can do is, rather than executing your work directly, you can keep that in a version file or a checkpoint file or some file, so that first you are writing the work that you're going to do in this file, and then you're going to do a particular piece of work. So it is going to ensure that the ordering of your piece of work is always present, and all of the units of work or all of the workers are adhering to this version file if they share some data state. Now, these transactions or Saga distributed transaction is a loosely coupled distributed transaction process or pattern. But in cases where you need very high consistency requirements, in those cases, I would recommend, and Microsoft also recommend, not Microsoft, but it is also recommended that you use two-phase commit, which provides more ACID properties than Saga distributed pattern. So for high risk, go for two-phase commits, and for low risk, you can take Saga distributed transaction pattern in your system. So your Saga distributed transaction pattern is suitable when you don't have high coupling between your services. If you have high coupling, you should not go for Saga distributed transaction pattern. If you have low coupling, you should go for it. If there are cyclic dependency, then also Saga pattern may not be helpful for your use case. You should go for other patterns. But all in all, Saga provides a very good way of implementing transactions in your distributed system, which uses multiple data stores, and they can be independent services which can come together to provide a transaction like support in your system. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know there can be multiple things which you may not have understood correctly up till now, but it's my best effort to let you know what are the things that are present in the world, in the industry, and how are they used. So let me know your views and comments. We can discuss them again. Thank you and have a nice day.